once again. Okay, so good evening once again. You're all welcome to this class. This is our 9th class. We've had as much as 8 classes already. We've looked at a lot of concepts. We've looked at quite a good number of concepts we've been working with Node.js. And in our first class, one of the things we looked at in our first class, we looked at the overview of the web request lifecycle. We looked at the intro into Node.js. And then from then on, we looked at REST. What is REST? And from what is a RESTful API? From there, we looked into Express, Postman for testings, and we've been using some of the things we've learned so far. In the second week, we looked at object-oriented programming. Looked at data structures, and from there we looked into introduction to Mongodb. In that class, we looked at what Mongodb is as a database. We looked at how to select between some form of database or the other. If you were to choose between the different types of database, what are the considerations you would have in place? What are the things you want to consider? And from then on, we looked at, okay, now we have decided that we want to work with the main stack. And in the main stack, we have Mongodb. Mongodb is NoSQL, a non-relational database, and it's more of a document based database. And when we looked at what are the key functionalities, what are the takeaways, how you differentiate between what you can get with MongoDB and what you can get with other platforms like SQLs, MySQL, or Progress SQL, and all different types of RDBM. So we looked at that in our last class, or rather last week. And in our last class, we started working with MongoDB. So we created, we downloaded the local version, did a setup for the local version. We also installed Compass, with which we were able to see that while working with Compass, you could have faster results in terms of when you want to, refresh the database to find out what you have new. So working with Compass looked like a faster result because you don't have to start re-rendering the entire page or the UI, or you just focus on the key elements or the data that is being changed, and it gave a faster experience than working with the cloud Atlas. We also saw that using Compass, you could connect to both the locally hosted MongoDB and also to the cloud version. So we tested CRUD Operations using Mongoose. One of the things I tried to spell out clearly in our last class was that most times you would not be using MongoDB directly. You want to use more of a dependency like Mongoose to be able to tag along some extra features. So Mongoose comes with some extra features like giving it some schema representation or a relationship, giving it some form of structure, and making it more of like easy to create a class. So for instance, you can create a class based on that instance of a structure you've made or a model that you've made. So you're creating, for example, an object based on that model. So there were some of the key things we looked at, tested, and we see how that works. In today's class, we're going to be continuing with CRUD Operations using MongoDB. However, one of the first things we want to look at is we want to look at structuring or restructuring. We had more of a monolith, and I'm going to try to explain that. We had more of all our code in one page or in one place, but in today's class, I'm going to be showing you how to structure your folders, based on 2 key standards. So I'll first show you the rough work or the shoulder job we did last week, and then from there we'll look at how better it could be done, and see how things connect. So you're welcome to this class. My name is Benjamin Efinudu. I'm a software developer, experienced with the main full stack and also the .NET full stack, and I'm always accessible on the KodeCamp Slack workspace at Aosoft. I'm not alone. I also have here a KodeCamp mentor, and his name is Prosper okay, and he is a backend developer experienced with Node.js, Mongodb, Express.js, and TypeScript, and he's also very much available. So if you have questions, you have issues, we are not saying this for fancy. Okay, try to reach us, okay, with your issues and see how we could help you out with them. So going into today, like I said, one of the first things you want to look at today. Okay, this should be 8. This should be 8. Let me just put that as 8. So going into today, we should be looking at our folder structure. Okay, we're going to be looking at API folder structure, and from there we'll continue with CRUD operations now using Mongoose based on API structure, and we're going to be starting some form of a project. We're going to be starting some form of a project. So basically what we'll do is we'll have like a base structure or a base setup, and from then on we could go forward to having other things. So like for this week we're looking at CRUD operations. So you want to have your base set up with your CRUD operations. Then in the next class, or in the class where we're talking about authentication, authorization, then you want to, instead of you starting up a new project, we'll first do something simple showing you the basic workflow, then we'll include it into the project. So more or less like building up structure. So we're going to have a gradual build up. So I'm going to show you what the code does in like a sandbox condition or a sandbox environment, or an environment where so many things are not quite dependent. And then I will show you how it is when you integrate it into the big project. So by the time we are done with this program, this will be like a full project, having the necessary things like cloud, cloud storage, image upload, authorization, authentication, and all those different, key parts of being a backend developer. All those things will be things that as we learn, we add them. As we learn, we add them, and then we'll see how that goes. So let's jump in. Let's jump into the core business for today. So I think I'll take this down. Okay, so let's take this down. All right, so let me navigate into a folder. So here, I already have the folder structure. Okay, I already have the folder structure, and I prefer to just show you what the structure will look like because to save us time, so we can focus on the business. So when we get to creating like a new folder for that, then we'll look at this. So let me just increase the size of this for the benefit of those who will be watching later. If you're watching this video by recording, it's always advisable to download it in 720p, and so in 720 points or pixels. That's that one. Don't do 360, do 720 so you can see the text well. So you can do 720 and do HK or HD, whichever one you prefer. So here we have the beginner. So how would a beginner most time code? So generally, a beginner would have maybe, for example, the index.js. Okay, so the index.js will be at the root of the file. And then in the process, you then will realize, okay, maybe you have your package.json. Package.json is not written like this, okay? It's not like written like this, but yeah, I'm just putting out here. So you'd likely have a package.json, and then maybe when you start, you would have maybe like a Node Modus folder by the time you install some applications. So let's say you have Node Modus, okay? So let's say you have your Node Modus here. And by the time you start tagging along some things like, okay, you want to create, not here, you want to create maybe an item, okay? So you want to create an item. Your item would be maybe this, or possibly you might not even have this. You might have, here will be a lump of all the codes you want to do. So from here, you want to maybe, import your dependencies. So maybe here you have import dependencies, or okay. So here you might have import dependent. Okay, I think I spelled that dependencies. Okay. Yeah, so you might want to import dependencies from here. You might want to maybe set up your database, or you might want to set up your Mongoose. Okay, so your schema. So you want to set up your Mongoose schema, and then from here, maybe you want to then have your controller. This is going to be some really long code. And then from your controller, maybe you then would have your routes that you use to access. So from the controller, then you have the app that listens. Okay, so probably your app will then listen at the end. By the time you plug in all this code and everything, which we're talking about, like a really massively long code. So this is how a beginner developer would do, and almost everything will be here in this package, and it becomes pretty hard to work together in a group with this, or to work alone on this, because you have so many lines of code. It could be intimidating, it could be confusing, you could be lost, you could make a mistake here and it could affect almost everything. So this is a noob, okay, this is a noob style or a newbie style of working on code. So I'll leave this here as a beginner, what a beginner would do. Now let's look at an intermediate. What will an intermediate level do? Now I want you to understand that this, okay, is not cast in stone. This is just like what I've observed by experience and by looking for a fundamentally good way. I've come to see that this is a good way, and I've adopted it in some cases. Yes, in some other cases, I just like don't want to go through the stress. So it depends. So this is a good way for an intermediate level. So here we have the source, which will involve the code we're going to work with. So this here, all your code base will be here. You have your .env, and in some cases, okay, I think you could have the index.js out here. I think that would be better here. Okay, so you could have your index.js out here in the intermediate structure. So here we have so here we have environment variables. In newbie, we'll be plugging in the codes directly in index.js, but here you want to start working with the environment variables so that when you push the code, people don't get to see things like the private keys and things you work with or such. So those things could be in your environment variable, and when you host on the site, you go into the site and plug in the environment variables yourself. Okay, then here you want to ignore some things. So maybe one of the things you want to ignore is the environment variable and your node modules. So you don't push that along with your code. Then you have here your index.js, which would be the entry points. And okay, I think I was working on an NST project, so I just pasted that there. All right. So here you just have your index.js, and here your package.json, your lock, and all that. So here in this place, here you would have two likely configs. Here would be for configuration. So your .env can actually go into your configuration if you want, okay, because it's still part of the configuration. Then you could configure other things, like maybe your database. Maybe if you have a different way you want to pass in variables, instead of you passing them in .env, you might want to use the config and maybe a bin file or something. Depends on how you're working or what you're working on. Then here in the API, you might want to have in some of this folders. So these folders will provide you a way of being able to easily read through code and differentiate to know what does what. So here you have models. So in models, you could have things like, let's say, for example, we want to work on a product. Let's say we have an e-commerce application. I think e-commerce is something. I think, let's say we have an e-commerce application and you have a product or an item. You might want to then say, okay, this is the item, and do item.js. And here you want to build the model using Mongoose, okay, to build the model of what you want to do. So here would be a good place for you to have that. Okay, so here you call it model item by name. If you have a user that you want to create, now you can also call that a user by user.js, or you could try to call it user model, item model, depends on you, but I just prefer calling everything the same name. So I have item, user. So here will be good for you building up your model. Now, most times when you build a model, you want to use the model in creating an item. Okay, so the model is basically like the structure with which you build the object. So you can think of your model as a class, and you think of what you build out of it as an object. So you would do that aspect of building or those functionalities in your controller. Okay, so in your controller, you want to do that. So here you might then have maybe like an item.js where things happen. Okay, and then you may also have a user.js where things happen. So you can have maybe like a user.js. And some people would like to use item controller, user controller, but I just go straight for items. I prefer using this. It looks cleaner and easier for me to enjoy looking at it. So yeah, so in this place, this is where you want to do your CRUD operations. So most times, some of the things you want to do here is you want to import your dependencies. Okay, you want to import your dependencies. You want to import your model. Okay, so you want to import your model, and then after, so then you could have like a different operation. So maybe you have your CRUD, your create, maybe your read, your updates. Okay, so your updates, and then okay, spell that wrong. Your updates, and then you could have your deletes. Okay, so this will be like different things. So here at this point, you want to call in or create like like a variable that's going to do something. So you want to create like a variable that's going to do something like maybe like a method. So here, let's say for example, I want to create items. So I want to like create. Okay, so create. Let's say create item, and yes, one very important thing about working. Okay, one very important thing about working with what am I trying to talk about again? Yeah, one very important thing about working here is when you are giving your variables name, you want to name them in a way that you can easily figure out what they do when you are importing them in another place. You want to like figure out what they do. So you want to name them appropriately. So here maybe you could then have in things like your async await methods, then you have request. Don't worry, I'm going to show you like last code we worked on. I'm going to show you like how you can do that. So like this now here would be like the create item method, and it's basically in the controller. So here will be for all the things that you are doing, you're working on. So maybe here you could import your model if you've whipped up a model. You can import the model, and then when you want to create the item, you can then do maybe like depends on what you want to do. It's maybe like const item is equals to new, like item. If the model name is item, depends on what you want to do. Okay, so excuse me. So it depends on what you want to do. So here, this is one way to go about that. You can decide to also maybe like include like things into it. Maybe you want to send it directly from here, or you want to just create the item and then maybe add in. Maybe you want to just create the item and then maybe tag in some things and then do item.save like we saw we did in the last class. So whichever way you want to go about that, this is one of such ways. So after you have done, after you have finally like done your controllers, the next is you want to import the functions. Okay, you want to import the functions and then tag them to a route. So here we will then have routes. Let's say we have item. Okay, so we have item.js, and you could always name this what you want. Okay, so let's say we have users.js or just user.js. So here I want to do anything related to the item here. So in this place here, you might want to import like maybe like Express, which would be like the core dependency. So you want to import Express, for instance, and maybe what you want to import is the router. So you want to import the router from Express, and after that, maybe you want to start importing, the controllers. So you want to import the controllers. So you can decide to import the controllers in maybe like different ways. You can decide to import the whole controller, okay, as one big, as one big object. You can decide to import the controller as one big object, or you can decide to destructure the things out of the controller, as we will see, today. We'll try both ways and we'll see both of them work. So here Once you've done that, then you want to go on with your like implementing your router methods. So let's say, for instance, we already have a router set up. So you want to say maybe router.get, and then here you want to define where it's going to. Okay, so where it's going to, and then just call the method. So you're defining the route where it's going to, and then you want to call the method. Okay, so let's just call this method. So you just define the route where it's going to, and then you call the method. So as many as different routers or different routes, okay, as are available. Maybe this could be a post, okay. Maybe this is a post for the create method now. So let's say this is a post for the create method. So then you call this, and when you've called all of this, you then want to export. You then want to export, your router function. So after exporting it, then you can call it in your index.js. So in the index.js, all you'll be doing here is you just import the different things you want to do and unload it here. So by the time you're done with that, you realize that you have little things to do in index. So in index, you will just be seeing maybe instead of you importing so many dependencies, you just import a few you need. If you have maybe like a middleware for authentication, so middlewares you have like when we get into authentication, I'll explain middlewares in details. Or you could have like middlewares that will do some extra functions, so you can put them in between. So you can import them here, or you can import them in the route depending on what your middleware is going to do. Then you can have helpers, which are just like additional functions. Okay, so they help. You have services. So services could be maybe if you have external services you want to render. For instance, it could be a mailing service, it could be some other form of service, maybe cloud storage. So those things you can call them services. Okay, and then here validation. So in validations, you want to plug in some validation. So we'll see an example today. Okay, we stay up good time. So we'll see an example today of some example of validations and why they are pretty much very good for you to implement. Okay, so this is this is a general overview of what an intermediate folder structure will look like. So you have your config, you have your API, which contains all the different things. You have configuration for settings, and then that's in the source. So sometimes I would want to just instead of me having source, I'll just have source here and I config separately. Some other times I just want to follow this. But there's nothing bad in having like this. This is a good structure. It looks clean. It looks easy to read, and yeah, I like this. So this is for an intermediate level, and this is the kind of structure we're working with for the purpose of this trainings. So let's go to the advanced. So the advanced could be in so many different ways, just as the intermediate could be in many different ways. But let's look at a good way the advanced could be. Now, when we're talking about advanced, mostly talking about advanced, you want to work with TypeScript. Okay, you don't want to do advanced work using Node.js, using JavaScript, plain JavaScript. Okay, so you want to use TypeScript. And we've talked about why TypeScript is great. We understand type safety. Okay, we've looked at type safety, and we've also seen that by the time TypeScript is compiled down, it's compiled down to ES3, which makes it able to work on old generation browsers. So that's one of the benefits of working with TypeScript. So it's not just an advancement for for the sake of making things difficult for people, but it's actually an advancement for making it better for your users. Okay, and also for you as a developer, because you see most of the errors that you want to you might likely face in the future. You see most of the errors at compile time rather than the errors coming up at production time when things are already running in production. So that's another thing. So here we have the advanced, and the advanced here your node modules as well, and yeah, we have node modules here. Okay, normally the node modules will load at the top here, so that's just an oversight on my part. So here you have your node modules here, and then here you have your source, and then you have your test. So once you get into advanced, you want to incorporate test here as part of how your work is done. So here you have test, and different tests will be here for the different things you test you want to run. So this would be for test. Here you have the environment variables. You have also ESLint. So if you look here at this point, you notice I use ESLint. I don't use Prettier. Prettier is a code formatter, so it's great for formatting code. But when you get advanced or at least intermediate, you want to move from working with Prettier to working with ESLint, because this is a lot more strict, and it tries to make you conform to a lot more intermediate to advanced standard of how your code should look. So if you are using Prettier, it's time for you to move over to ESLint, and you'll be surprised that some of the errors that Prettier, it's not really an error, it's more of a formatting thing. So some of the formats that Prettier will be okay with, when you use ESLint will complain, and you have to factor your code to meet a good standard. So yes, so this is ESLint. So here there are things that when you use ESLint you may want to ignore. So that's the purpose of the ESLint ignore. You're already familiar with it, ignore probably. And you have package JC and tsconfig, which would deal with how things will be configured when transpiling from TypeScript to JavaScript. And yeah, let's look into the source. So here in the source, we still have our API, and things are pretty much still the same: controller, helper, interfaces. So in terms of interfaces, when we're working with interfaces, you are trying to create a contract of how your controllers will interact with certain things. So you want to make sure that instead of people interact, instead of things that are interacting directly with the model, the interface would be more of like a data transfer object, or a way of making it binding that whatever it is you want to do has to conform to a certain maybe a type, maybe a certain structure, or things like that. So that's where we have interfaces. You can look it up and get better understanding. But yeah, this is advanced, so you might want to take time, capture what we are doing on intermediate level, and then have this as like a side pursuit. So if you want to go way ahead of the class to go into advanced, that's great, but capture what we are doing first. Then we have middlewares, models, routes, services, and validations, and all these are basically just the same. Okay, so they're just basically just the same. Then here in the controller, you might want to run tests in the controller. Okay, so you might want to run tests in the controller. So this here, you might want to test each method separately. So you can test the different methods to see if it's functioning. So here would be where you could have probably like your controller, okay, like a folder of your controller with multiple different methods or related files about what you want to do in the user controller. Then here would be the tests. You test the different scenarios to see if it passes all the different expectations or requirements. So here will be your test. So in some cases you might have tests like that, while in some other cases you might not really have much. So here services, you want to also run tests like that. So yeah, so this is for the API. And then for the config, you might have some additional things like constants. You might want to store your constants in one place. You have your database config. And then you might also want to have a logger. So oftentimes when we work like in development stage, we oftentimes use console.log to put the errors out so that we can see what's going on, what are the responses. However, when you want to work, you want to have a proper logger that doesn't log, because you don't want users, as they're using your platform or your backend, to be seeing console.log or be seeing what is being logged or the different things. So here you just want to keep a record. Okay, you want to keep a record of what is being logged here, or set up for that. And then swaggers, in case you need to have like some way your documentation comes about. So that's where you have all that. And then here will be your entry point into the application index.ts. So that is the advanced. So here you have the beginner, you have the intermediate, which is where we should be, and then you have the advanced, which is where we should be looking to be pretty soon. Okay, so advanced should be where you should be looking to be after this program. This should be your own pursuit after this program. Okay. All right. So I'll take any questions if there are. Take any questions there before I move into the second aspect of today's work. Any questions, please? Any questions, please? Okay. All right. If there are none, let's let's. Okay. So if there are none, let's look at what we did in our last class and see how we can restructure this to look like this. So here we have source, we have API config, the env and this. So we want to see if class, what did we do in our last class? Okay, so this is week 4 and week 4. Okay, so this is week 4. All right, so let me turn this down. All right, so this is what we did in our last class, a rough, sketchy work of getting things done. Wow, this is looking like a mess. It is looking like a mess. So let's just refactor. Okay, so let's just refactor. And before we refactor, we want to first of all be sure everything here is working. Okay, we want to be sure everything here is working, and then we then refactor. So let's test. Okay, so I always like to be sure everything's working before refactoring. Yeah. So okay, sorry, so it's working. So this is on port. What is the challenge? The challenge is I commented out the username and password. Okay, so I commented out the username and password. All right, so yeah, I commented out username and password. All right, so let me just put what we had from our last class here. We had admin and we had password 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I think with that, MongoDB should be back up. If the password is correct, that is. All right, so I'm not seeing any error from there. So let's run Postman to see if we can read to get. Okay, so this is post. Where is the get method? Get. Okay, so this is going to get us what's find. Okay, and yeah, so it's going to get us a list of the kittens we have available. So let's run to Postman. Here, let me delete all this and move this. All right, so what port are we on? We're on port 4000. All right, so we're running on port 4000. So let's see localhost port 4000 to get request. Do we still have any features in database? No, we don't. We don't have kitties in the database, but at least we're getting a response. Okay, so what do we need to do to create? What do we need to do to create? Okay, so if we just do the post, we already have this stored in here. All right, so let's just create one called Garfield. Okay, so all right, so we have one called Garfield, and all right, so we have Garfield here. All right, so I just wanted to show that it's working fine. All right, so let's start. So someone's mic is unmuted. Okay, so let's start. So one of the things you want to do is let me just open this in another console. Okay, so here we are in week 4. So you can decide to just create the folders, or you can decide to make directory separately. So let's just make directory. So let me just make a directory. So to make directory, let's make a source folder. All right, so I have source folder. Then you can cd into the directory. Okay, you can cd into the directory like this, or you can just do that like from outside. So here in this directory, we could make like maybe two directories, API and config. Okay, so here we just do API config. So here we have API and config there, and then here in API, let me just see the API saving time. Okay, so the API, we could make multiple directories. So we have controllers. Someone's microphone is unmuted, so interfering. Okay, all right. So here we could have controllers. Okay, we have controllers. Um, we have controllers. We could have middlewares. We could have our helpers. Depends on what we're going to use. I'm not going to use some of them today. We could have validations. Okay, we could have what else could we have? We could have routes. Okay, so we could have routes, have models, and okay, and yeah, so like so. So we have controllers, helpers, middlewares, routes, models, and so. So it's easier for me typing this out here, so that's why I just prefer to do it from there. So we're not going to use some today, but I just want to just have the structure there, just fancy. So let's look at the index. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to take your database. Okay, so you want to take your database out. So here, let me just have a database file. So let me just call this database .js, and most times the way I like to structure my database is not this way. I like to structure my database slightly different. So I'll just grab a useful way that you could structure a database. Let me just see if I could grab it from somewhere. Okay, so this way would help you, and I'm going to explain it in a bit. Okay, I'm going to explain it in a bit. Here we still have to like import some. We still have to like install some dependencies. So I'd like to explain this in a bit. How this database works. Okay, so generally, here I want to use an environment variable. Okay, so to use the environment variable, we need to import the .env to be able to use the environment variable. So for me to do that, I have to cd out back to the database plain place here. Then here, let me check, is this, okay, this is an actual file. Okay, I thought I just typed that out here. Okay, all right, so this is an actual file. You don't have any dependencies yet, express Mongoose, please have Mongoose from the last class. All right, so let me install .env. Okay, so the env is an environment variable, and it's for you to work with environment variables. So while that is being installed, create the env break. All right, so here is where we are, and I want to move this URI. Okay, I want to remove it from here into the database. So I want this to be used here in the database. But here, I don't want it to be shown here in the code. So when I push to, if I was to push to, for example, if I was to push to GitHub, I want the configuration not to show my email or password or whatever set of my username and password. So that's the purpose of you having a .env. Okay, so that's the purpose of you having a .env file, so that you can hide this from other users. So you can do this here, .env, or you can do config.env, whichever one, but I prefer just using .env. Okay, and then here, let's give it a name. So here we just call it db URL, like so, and it takes in all this information from left to right. Okay, so it takes in all this information from left to right. So if I wanted to create a new database of stuff for everything, I could change the name from here, and it would this name is named for the collection. So if I was to change the name here, it will become a new collection name. It will create a new collection name, and that will be the new map, okay, or the new point to be mapped to. So I've done that here, and in the database, I have so many things open. Okay, in the database here, I am requiring the environment variables, which is any variable that is defined here, and then I am using process.env.port. Okay, so I could also define a port variable, or like so. So I could say port is equal to, let's say, port 4000. Okay, let's say port 4000. So you will see the difference by the time we connect. Here I'm saying 5,000. So 5,000 is if this port is not defined or is not available, then go with this. So that's the purpose of 5,000. Then here, this is general connect function that comes with Mongoose. And here, these are just some things you want to define. I think they were defined before here, but they defined here. Okay, didn't quite define them here. So these are some things that Mongoose needs you to define. So use unified topology through URL parser, and this is part of it. So it takes in the connect function, as you see here. It takes in one, the URI string, which is here process.env, and the environment variable. Then it takes here the option. So this option is what we have put in here. Then the third thing it takes here is a callback. So this callback is when it's connected, this is what it's going to run. So this is the third thing, which is the callback. So in this callback, what I like to do is I like to pass in my application here into, okay, so I like to pass in my application here. So here I'm receiving here the application as a constructor. And then when it comes in here as a constructor, I'll console.log connected to the database. And when it's there, I've listened. So I'm listening at the port. And if there's an error, I like to catch the error here. So it's just a pretty simple setup, or this is the way I like to have it done. So here I'm exporting the connect database. So I should import this instead here. Okay, so I should import this instead here. And I'm no longer needing the port here on the outside. So at this point, something should crash. So let's let me import the database. So just say const, how did I call it? I called it connect database, and I want to import it from sorry, yeah, it was to require. I thought I was using import statements. Okay, so here where I read it out. Okay, so search. Okay, then config here, then database. Okay, all right. So after doing this, the next thing I usually want to do is, after I've defined my instance of Express, I would then pass it in like a connect database, and I'll pass in the app into it so that it's still accessible or available there. So let me just check to see if there's some error. So here it's saying app port, what's the port saying? Because port is not defined. Okay, so let me check why. Okay, process of port. Okay, port is not defined. Constant port. Why is it saying it's not defined? Okay, port. Okay, so let me just take this out first. Let me just take this out and see. Let me just take that and see if this is working without the port issue, and then if it's working without the port issue, then I'll know why. So let's see. Okay, So here app.listen port is this same port is not defined. Let me just stop this and run this again. All right. So like I was saying, what is it saying this time? Same port. Where is it tracing port? What line is this line? 90.
I think you can hear me, but there's no port in the .nb file.
There's a port in .env. There's a port in .env. I've actually commented that out. Okay, I actually commented that out. So the port isn't the problem as of now. The port isn't the problem as of now. Just checking why. Okay, just give me a second. Let me just put this up and see. Okay, reference error port is not defined, but here I don't have. Am I even in the right file? What file am I in? Work 04 index, yes. App listen ports. Here, this has changed, so this isn't being updated. Port is not defined. Do I have another port in this place for me? I don't have another port in this place now. I should say port is not defined. Okay, crazy things. All right, I'll sort that out. Okay, I'll sort that out. I'm just surprised it shouldn't be talking about port now because port here is being defined, and let me turn this off. Okay, so what's this saying now? UI parameter. Yeah. So come on. So why is it then saying this is working fine? So why is it then saying port is not app.listen? All right. Let me take this one out for time being. Okay, I'll just take this one out for the time being, and I'll take this one out for the time being, and I'll listen on. I'll listen in the main. I'll listen in the main. Oh, do I have a port here? Let me see if you put it from here. Do I have a port here? Yes, I have a port here. Sorry, my bad. I apologize for that. I was wondering why. Yeah. No wonder. Sorry about that. Because I was wondering why it was talking about port when I already have port defined here. So it's from there. Okay, so this works. Up here, yeah, up here. All right, then here. All right, then here, connected to the database, server listening on port 4000. Yeah. So this works here. All right, so the port here is declared was value never read. So here, let me change this to ports. So let me just do two of them at the same time. I change the ports, and I'm going to make this like so. Okay. So listen on ports on port 4000. Great, by business. Okay, so here you see here, if this is not defined in an l.m variable here, if here I have this not defined here, okay, let me say for this to try again. So if I have this not available here, you see it immediately switches over to port 5000. So that's the purpose of this process.m port string. So if this is not defined, then it switches to the next. Okay, so that's the purpose. So generally to work with this, and if it's not defined. So the reason for this is when you go to deployment, when you're deploying, most times the site to deploy choose the site to deploy and choose the port. So they choose the port by themselves. So by them choosing the port, you want to not be tagging or reaching out to 5000 or 5000, but you want to reach out to whatever port is being defined in the environment variable by the host sites. Okay, so that's the purpose of this setup. So let's go back to our index.js. We've done our database. This works fine, and I can reduce this. All right, so let me comment this out. We've worked on this. Okay, so we've worked on this application. Is it connected? Yes, we connected our database application. So yes, so let's test and see that we can still get results in here. Has there been any changes? Did we change? Did we change the database we're reaching out to? we change the database we're reaching out to. Still trying to let me check if we change the database we're reaching out to. It's possible we've changed to the new where's Compass. Okay, so let me see, where is Compass? Compass, what are we reaching out to? Admin filter, config, this and that. Oh, appears we have deleted. Okay, we deleted the collection. I deleted the collection, that's why it's not reaching out to that. So let's do a create. Let's do a create. I thought I actually just worked on this just now. Okay. This is taking time, so it's possible something we've done here is tampered with that. So let's go on. All right, let's go on. So here we've connected the app, and the app is functioning. What process do I see here? Okay, set on buffer took so long. Okay, but just trying to insert. All right, the Mongodb was the case. All right, so let's continue. So here now we have our model. So this is our model. Okay, repeating. This is our model, and we want to move this now into the model section. So like I said, you would have your model. Okay, so we have your model. So let me just call this model kitten, since that's all we worked on. So we just call this model kitten.js, and this is where we are going to describe the relationship. So let me just have this here. Let me just have this here, then have this index.js here. Okay, so here, this is where you want to do this. So we're going to take this here, and we also need to take in Mongoose, because Mongoose is what we are using. So here we have Mongoose, require Mongoose, and we have the kitten, and then after this, we need to export. Okay, so we need to export, or this to module.exports. Okay, so module.exports is equal to, then here we have some kind of like way we describe them. So before, what we were doing before is that we're working on them because it was in this same space here. So here now, this is how you want to export it, mongoose.model. Okay, so this will become this. So let me just do this. Let me just export this. So this is one way. Okay, this is one way to export. So here you're exporting it as a model, and then the collection name, you call it kitten. So we have a kitten schema, and then here in collection you're calling it kitten. So this is one way to export it, and we want to require this in the controller. So it is in the controller section that we require the model to use the model in creating. So let me just call this also kitten instead of kitten controller, but if you call yours kitten controller. Okay, so here, what do we need? So we want to import the kitten. Okay, so let's go import using import statements. You can actually use import statements for Mandy. Mandy, you talked about using import statements. You can actually use import statements, as I checked it some time weeks ago when you mentioned that. I noticed that there's been a lot of reasonable improvements in it. So you can use import statement, but I can't tell you how far long you can go with that. But yes, you can use import statements, and you might not run into issues. But when you run into issues, you might have difficulty going back to convert all the different things. Okay, so yeah, I want to do const kitten. Okay, so const kitten is equal to, then I want to require. Okay, so I want to require the model now. So let's see. No. Okay, so model kittens. All right. So like so. So whatever it is I'm doing here, what I'm doing basically is I'm picking the entire theme there, okay, and I'm taking it in as kitten. So this becomes like the whole model. So that's what I'm doing there. Then the operations I want to do now, like the create. So here, this methods here now, I want to take these methods essentially. So what I will be taking as the methods will be the asynchronous functions here. Okay, so that's what I'll be taking as the methods. Everything from here to about this point, this is what will be used for the create method. So hitting controller. Okay, so here we have the create method. Okay, so and then this we could then call it a name. So here I could say const create hitting. Create hitting is equals to this. Okay, we already have this async here. Okay, so create hitting is equals to this. I think this is correct. That is great. This goes. So here, you know the way you have your ES6. For those who might not be familiar with ES6 syntax, you have something like, let me just say get kitten. So you have something like this kitten, and it's equals to, then you now have the fat arrow function and what you want to do. So here you are basically passing parameters. So if you have parameters like maybe ID, for instance, let's just say kids. Okay, for instance, now this is the same thing as saying, let me just put this 1 and 2, 2 and 1. Okay, so this is basically the same thing you get if you are doing function. Okay, function get kitten without this equals to and without this. So this is basically the same thing you get. So if you are familiar with working with functions, with a function component that's like this, then this is basically the same. So the only difference is you are saying it, you are declaring as a constant, and you say it's equals to, and then the parameters you want, okay, you put it here. So here I'm having the async function or the async parameter, qualifying this, and that's the reason why async is outside, and then you have the parameter being passed inside. So basically just ES6 fat arrow syntax. So here I have the const keeping, and in this place, okay, this model, I close this, I close this too. Okay, so here, close this too. So here in this place now, this here is the create arrow method, or the route to which to create the cat, the route to which it should go to. So then I'm including this here in kitten as well. Okay, so kitten.js, and here let me just paste this here first. So basically, in this place, what you want to do is you want to require your router. Okay, so you want to require your router. So you could do maybe like a const router is equal to okay, let me start from how I usually see people do this. Okay, so people do const express is equal to require. Okay, then they require the express module. Okay, so yeah, so I usually see this, and then I would then see maybe then creating an instance. So maybe const router is equal to express. Okay, calling on that express, then you're calling on the router method and you are instantiating it. Okay, so I usually see this, but for me, I just prefer using a shortcut since I'm no longer on the start. So I just go straight to calling on the router method after requiring it, and just say router. Okay, so at this point here, you have your router, and this will no longer be app. Okay, to be router. So it's the router method you want to use. So you have the router.post, and this is where you want it to go to. Then the method that you want. Okay, so the method that you want. So here we want to import the method that we've created. So we have a method called sorry, I'm using imports here. So we have a method called method. We have we have a method. For you to create, you need to export this keychain because it's not going to be seen or available elsewhere. So to export it, you can do maybe like export dot, what you want to call it, maybe export dot this. You can do this. This is one way to export it, and because we're going to have multiple things, you can do it that way. This is one way. Okay, then I'll show you another method. Another method could be like you could tag along multiple things. So you can say module.exports, and here you want to export multiple things. So you want to send them as something to be destructured. So here you can have const, and then you are exporting what you want to export. Like maybe you're exporting create keychain. So here, if you have multiple things here, you can either export them individually from here as exports dot the object or the function, or you can use module.export at the bottom, whichever one both of them work. Okay, so here I want to create keychain. So I'm gonna pick, all right, like so. It's equals to require. Okay, so here you want to require. So all of this is just to pick up where it is controllers. Okay, and then keychains. Okay, so like so, and then after this, you want to then call on the method. So the method to be create keychain. So I've noticed two good ways. I like to let you belly cards. Okay, so I like to let you guys know other ways somewhere and it's better for you, or you like that method. That's fine. Okay, so in this place, basically what we've done here is we've destructured this out of the keychain object. So here we are basically destructuring because it is structured here. Okay, so we are basically destructuring it out of that. Now, another way could have been to just call whatever is this thing here, keychain, and then we can then access it as a method of keychain. So it could then be, for instance, keychain dot create keychain, which is a method, and it could actually be small letter. Okay, so it doesn't have to be capital letter, it could actually be small letter. So this is one way. So the benefit of this particular method, the benefit of this particular method is that if you have multiple things that you have imported, okay, let's say for instance we have create keychain, get specific keychain, and all those different things, and maybe we have like so many different things here. You can, when you destructure it here, everything will show up like a long line of what you want to do. And then if you are not be so sure of where it came from, so if you have so many methods, maybe like as much as 8, 10 methods, and they're coming from different files, you might want to use this method so you can easily read, oh, this is coming from this file. And if that's not the case, maybe you just have few methods coming from one file. What did I just do? Okay, if you have just few methods coming from one file, you could just destructure them all out. Why is this doing so much work? I just typed a backspace and then it's doing too much work. Okay, so create keychain. All right, so like so. So you can do this like so, and that gives you like the what do you call it? That gives you like a functionality, okay, that you want. So here, this is the route it goes to, and here, this is the method you want to implement, and we need to then export it. So we can then do module.export again. So module.export, then we could just say it equals to the router. So we want to export only the router, and then you can then import the router in index.js. Okay, so importing the router in index.js, there are like different ways to go about how you import the router. Okay, there are different ways to go about how you import the router. One of such ways is you might want to, like what we've been doing essentially before now is we have been using app.get, app.post, app.put, and all such to be able to get what we want to be, get done. So here we have app.get, app.post, and all this. But here now, you might want to go further. Okay, so let me just comment all of this out. Since a lot of things have changed, so just comment all of this out. Okay. All right. So far, what we have done essentially so far is that we have CRUD Express. Okay. Required Express. We've done the connection to the database functioning. We've instantiated the app here connected to the database, which is working. And then now, what we want to do now is that we want to, bring out that route. So to bring out that route that we want, we could decide to call the route a name. So we can say maybe like kitten routes, for instance. So let me just call it kitten routes. I normally call it just kitten. So if you say kitten route is equals to require, and then here you want to then require how you get the route. So right now we are in the top level, so we want to go to source, from source to API, from API to routes, from routes to kitten, and here we've got kitten. So yes, this could be really stressful. So that's why sometimes I don't want to put API. I just want to just go straight to it, but fine. All right. Then now we want to use, okay? We want to use the we want to use this route that we've created. So this route that we created, we want to then call it, okay? So we want to then call it, and the methods that are available in this route, okay? The methods that are available for now, we have only one method. The methods that are available in this route will become the methods that will be functional, okay? Will become the method that will be functional. So yeah, like so. So let me first of all check on Compass if let me first of all check on Compass if the password we set up is correct, because I don't know why it didn't connect to this place before. So let me just check on Compass. The password we set up is correct. What is this? So admin server, admin server. Oh, pardon me. The password has changed. That's the reason why we couldn't connect to Mongodb before. Okay, the password has changed. So let me try and even whoop up a new password. So yes, I was wondering why that connection didn't go. So just give me a second. Let me try and whoop up a new password for Mongodb, and let me try and work with the new password for Mongodb. I didn't save the password name for it. So let me just look up the new password for Mongodb, and okay, just give me a second. Okay, password. I just got it now. Okay, is this right? Just give me a second. I'm almost done. All right. Okay, so let me check the environment variables if the password matches. Okay, all right, it does. Okay, so it does match. Okay, so index, yes. Okay, so let me check also here. Let me do the connection. Change the password. At least allow me to edit this. Edit. Okay, yes, I want to edit this. Okay, yes, okay, yeah, The password is the same, yeah. Okay, password is still the same, so why there's no issue. All right, so here we have kittens, and we have just one kitten, Garfield. Okay. All right, so here we have this right and have this right. All right, so let's go ahead and let's test our create routes. There are create routes. Okay, so let's see our create routes. Okay, taking a while. It's taking too long. Let me check if some error message. It's taking too long, necessarily too long. What is this saying? What is this saying? App that's used requires a middleware function. App that used requires a middleware function. Okay, I need to use I need to call express.json. I need to call express.json. Okay, so for me to be able to use middleware, okay, a middleware function, we need to have express.json. So express.json, what it does is basically express.json makes it possible for you to be able to use the app.use functionality. So let me just call express.json, express.json, like so. Okay, express.json, like so. My guess is that right. Okay, I think it's supposed to have like an app.use, app.use, express.json. What's going on here? Okay, app.use express.json. Okay, so let me see. Let me see if this works. Let me see if it works. Still taking too long. Longest error. Just give me a second, okay? Buffer time this. Why is this taking so long? Why is this taking so long? Okay, let me just start this again. Start the process again. Okay, so normally when developing, it's normal. Okay, it's normal to like get errors on rendering. It's normal to get errors, and you want to take time to look into your errors. Okay, so you want to take time to look into it. I mean, this right majority. So you want to take time to look into your errors, see what's wrong. So let me check in the controller to see if there could be any issue going on in the controller. Okay, so let me see. Very key that's right, that's right. Let me consult the blog something. Working. Okay, can you consult working? When this point is hits. Okay, so let me check for that in the console. Yeah, so it's working. Yeah, then Garfield is equals to new kitten name Garfield. Yes, console log working. Yes, try. Okay, so try. I would just say yes. Where's the status 201 JSON? Yes, console log. Yes. So why on earth is it taking so long to get? So why is it taking so long to get feedback? So, ladies and gentlemen, Sometimes these are some of the challenges you will face. Okay, this is some of the challenges you will face sometimes. So let me check what error message is coming from here. It looks like it's still about the same thing. How long was this? How long ago is this created? This created. All right. Let me clear all of this. Let me clear all this. Let me refresh. Let me start again. Let me reduce console. Let me see if it's still showing an error. If it's showing an error, I'll just have to switch over to. I'll have to switch over. Let me switch over to another database that I know is working fine. Why this one is not working fine? Okay. I don't know why this is taking so long. Let me check what is going on. Refresh, still not creating anything. Okay, let me check my connection. We still have the same right connection string. Just let me check what's going on. Okay. Okay. Yes, this is right. And if it wasn't right, it shouldn't have worked the first time. Password is also right. Cluster is also right. Database name is also right. Majority is true is also right. Right. So nothing is wrong from here. Set one. Okay, so why is set one timing out? Let me check in the model. So let me check in the model to see if there's something wrong in the model. Okay, so in the model, what do we have? In the model, we have yes, we require Mongoose. We did Mongoose the schema. Okay, we have the name of what we want. We have that it is exported. Yes, so everything basically should work. Everything basically should work. So everything basically should work. So just give me a second. Okay, so let me see if here we have key theme. Yes. Here we have key theme, name, string. We're going to do that. Yes, so we let me try and resolve this. Okay, let me try and resolve this and get back to us. Let me try and resolve this and get back to us. I don't see why it should take so long, except it's a network error, but it looks like my network is pretty much good.
I think we should try a GET request first to see if there's a connection to the database.
Sorry, I can't hear you. You said what?
I was saying we should try making a GET request rather than
all right, let's do that. Let's try that. Yeah, thanks. Let's try that. Let me just get the get request. I'll just pull in the read which is from here. Where is the index? I just pull in the read from here. this all in, and here, controller, okay, controller, then here, get this, okay, then okay, so, all right, so I take all this out, let's say const, or let's just say get kitten, or get all kittens, okay, get all kittens, or is equal to, okay, to this, and take this one out. All right, and then you can export it like so, or get all kittens at the bottom, or you can do export here, and then here in the route. So I want to get the kittens, so I can get all kittens like so, and this should be a get request. Okay, so this will be a get request, and we'll just say get all kittens. Okay, so we get request, get all kittens. Then let's be sure that there's nothing interfering on any side. Okay, so here get all kittens, yes, and then going to just move this picture. Going over to index.js, right? So we have this route here. That's the purpose of this route. It basically works for all of it. Okay, so let me just call this kitten, just in case. Let me just call this kitten. But it doesn't make any much difference. Okay, still the same thing. I'll explain how to work with these routes later. But let's get out of this being stuck here. So let's see kitten, and let's get request, and this is still taking unnecessarily too long. I'm not going to see any response here. Let me put a response here. Let me put a response here and just put something here to console. So log getting all kittens. Okay, that's so. All right, so yeah. So here getting all kittens like so. Yeah, this is working. This is functioning. So what is preventing? What is preventing? Okay, what is preventing? Okay, let me change the user. Okay, I think I should just change. Let me update the database to see if the user here is currently limited, because I don't see anything wrong in the code challenge. Okay, I don't see anything wrong with it. This is a get request, and it's actually like having all the necessary parameters here. So I was having all the necessary parameters here. So just give me a second. Let me get that out of the way. Okay, so let me try to find out what's going on the database. So give me a second. Okay, basically still the same thing. Okay, basically it's still the same string. Then in terms of database access, let me just update this row to okay, and update this row to main. Okay, so this is admin having all administrative. Let me see password. Is it still the same password? It's taking a long time to deploy changes. It's taking a long time to deploy changes. Password is still the same. Yeah. Okay, so let's just wait a bit. Okay, let's just wait a bit, and when it's done deploying changes, it might be a network issue on their side. That's one of the reasons why I wanted us to look at having a local version so that we can get to this in our next class. Okay, in our next class, our class on Friday. In our class on Friday, we're going to deploy a local version. So one of the things I observe while working with Mongodb is sometimes when you have you're still using like this free version, so to say. Sometimes it takes a long time when you want to reach out to it, and when the response does not come on time, that's when you get this kind of error. Or here, let me see. We have my first database. In my first database, we have kittens. In kittens, we have this, but yet it's still not giving us any response for now. 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 Okay. Let me see. Still not any response now. I wouldn't know what exactly is preventing this. I wouldn't know exactly what's preventing this because it's not an error from the code. Okay, it's not an error from the code. It's taking so long.
Is there a way we can create data using Compass so that we can see if it reflects on the cloud?
Sorry, you said what?
I was asking if there's a way if we could use Compass to create like a data itself to see if it will reflect on, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can. Okay, we can, but okay, what you want to check if it's going to like reflect on the other, like on the cloud version.
I was thinking if it reflects here, then it means that there's a disconnect between our code and the database.
Oh, okay. I get you. But basically, it's just 100%, basically just the same thing. We're not having a disconnect. Okay, we're not having a disconnect. We're just basically having like some challenge with we're just having like some challenge with this. I haven't really like inserted code directly from here because I haven't had a need to. Okay, but let me just check what's in here. ID this ID, yeah. Okay, so that's ID. Where do you want me to put in information? Object ID, fields. Why is it so small? Okay, so name and called chat. This is Charles. Okay, if there's any Ghanaian person, forgive me for calling Charlie. Okay, so we have Charlie here, and let me check if it reflects here. Okay, so let me check if it's reflecting here on this side. Yeah, it's reflecting here. It's reflecting here. So it's reflecting here on the on cloud. I'm going to connect again. Okay, I'm going to connect again, and this time around, I'll do the connection again. So this time around, I expect that I should work because basically all that it takes to connect is just connection string, and it's supposed to just be able to copy it from the code. It's supposed to be able to just copy this from the code here. Okay, so where is it? .env. Okay, it's supposed to just be able to copy it from here and paste. So let me what I'll do is I'll just paste it directly. What I'll just do is I'll just paste this directly here in URI parameter. So I'll just paste it directly in URI parameter going where is it now? Let's see. Let me just paste this here in the config parameter. So instead of me having this, just going to have this as a string, paste this like this here, and it's connected to the database. But like it shouldn't really mean anything because really, if it didn't connect, it wouldn't even show connected to the database. But obviously, let's just see if this works. If this works, then we'll know where errors are coming from. Okay, so this works, we know where errors are coming from. All right, this is still taking too long. This is taking too long. Okay, so already like from past schedule today. So if it's something we can't resolve today, we'll have to resolve in the next class. Or let me just do this one more shot. Here, okay, so here we have our here we're calling the routes, we're using it, all of this is working fine. We're using this properly. Then we have the app.use method. So we're using express.json. Okay, and I don't know, let me just put this here. Let me just put this here just for purpose sake. But this one, you don't really need this except you're working with data from outside. Okay, so returns a middleware that only passes URL bodies and only looks at the request. Okay, then this one returns middleware that only passes JSON and only looks at requests where the content type matches type or such. Okay, so basically these two we don't need it for what we are working on so far. So I would just I would just be putting this here just for the time being. So in the next class, I should be able to resolve what our challenge is, and we'll work with the local version. We'll work with local version because basically we're not seeing exactly what our challenge is, and our error is not even helping. Let me what I'll just do, let me just bring out this app listing from here. I'll just bring this out. Let me just bring this out from here. I'm bring this out from here. Let me not wait for this. Let me bring this out from here also. Just in case this is what is causing the issue, just in case this is what is causing the issue, let me bring it out from here and listen. So, okay, so let me just bring that from here and listen from here. Database, just in case this is what's causing the issue, but I haven't gotten this issue before by working with this setup. So here, let me just do this here. Let me also bring out this food. Okay, so let me just bring out this configuration. So I'm going to do this here. And right, so right, so I've got listen. Four, right, right. Okay, so here, let's give it one last try. Okay, so if it doesn't do like this, we can choose from here in the next class. So today I just wanted to look at us getting the folder structure right. I just wanted to look at us getting the folder structure right, but apologies, okay, I apologize for having this error come up and not being able to fix it in today's class. I'll check exactly what is going on in time being, and in our next class. Most of these things I probably should test them, so I'll test them before next class. Okay, so I'll test them before next class just to be sure. I mean, I just prefer like going to class without having to test these things so that we can see that everything is working, go from the scratch. But right now. But right now, since it's not working, I'll probably just have to do a lot of testing first before each class, just to be sure that I don't waste your time with code that doesn't work. So apologies for this. This is where we'll be stopping for today's class. The general take home setup I want us to do. Okay, the general take home setup I want us to do is for us to work with folder structure. So the assignment that I'll be giving us, okay, the assignment I'll be giving us is for us to work with a folder structure. Okay, for us to work with a folder structure that splits everything into controller, helpers, middlewares, models, and such and everything. So for now, we have controllers, we have models, we have routes, and we haven't looked into validation. We're looking for validation in our next class. So we have routes, we have models, and we have controllers. So this is the basic MVC of a working application. Okay, so this is the basic MVC of a working application. So in our next class, what I would do is, if I'm able to like figure out the error pretty soon, I'll send a video. I'll put a video in YouTube file folder. That's the video. I'll try and shrink the size so that it doesn't like suck up your data. So I just put a video of the solutions. Then for a task, what you will be doing for a week is you'll be creating. I'm going to give you a list of items for the e-commerce. Okay, so I'm going to give you a list of items for the e-commerce. So based on that, you create a model. The model here will be of this form. Remember, you can always go to Mongoose. Okay, so you can go to mongoose.js.com. Let me pull this up. Okay, so you can go to mongoose.js.com, and from there you'll be able to see. From there, you'll be able to see some of these things that you need as your setup. Okay, so mongoose.js.com, you'll be able to see the things you need as your setup, and that should work. Then I think the problem I might be having with this code may be from this place, because that's the only possible logic. It may be from this place. I'll check that out if there's some new thing that needs to be here, because what we used before was a different string, and that worked fine. So I'll check that out if there's something new that needs to be here or stuff. And this is what happens when you work with code. Sometimes things change and you have to modify. So that'll be that for this class. I would like to call on Prosper to round up the session. Prosper, can you hear me? Can you come up to round up the session? Hello, Mr. Prosper, can you hear me? Can you come up to run of the session? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Right. I think he's not on seat right now. So, in the absence of that, well done for making it thus far. And a month has basically passed. Okay, so this week now, this is like the second month. So a month has basically passed, and I expect that like we should take our time to be objective in what we've done so far, review, and then see what you have ahead. And the tasks ahead, like I've already mentioned to you, some of the concepts that classes. So you can also do it to research ahead. So in case maybe I'm working on some code and I have some oversight, you'll be able to spot out errors and help me out. That's welcome. Okay, that's welcome. So I'll see you guys in the next class. That'll be all for today. Once I make any changes or anything, I'm going to push that to you. Expect your assignment tomorrow evening. Okay, so your tax for the week, your promotional tax, expect it tomorrow. So we'll put that up for you. And like I said, basically, you'll just be creating your, you're going to be creating your model, view, and controller. Okay, we're not doing view now, but you're going to do your model, your routes, your controllers, and your index.js based on the intermediate level format. Okay, you can do TypeScript. You can do that for your own personal consumption. Okay, you can do that for your own personal consumption. But if you've done that in TypeScript and you still want us to see, you can show that to us personally. That's okay. But for the purpose of the class, we will be using the intermediate folder structure. Create your own MVC, your own setup with that, and it's pretty much simple. So all you then need to do is then work with the model. So I'll see you guys in our next class. Thanks for your time, and bye for now.